Way. Never let a block get in my way. Make the whole song do whatever I say. 79, 79, 79, babe. 79, 79.
What it was prison. Prison was hell. It was a new kind of plantation. I feel like a maroon woman. I feel like an escaped slave, because what I saw in the United States in those prisons was slavery. It was black people with chains in cells. It was just poor people, just stepped on and smashed. I'll never forget what I saw. I'll never forget what I've lived through. I'll never forget what my people have lived through.
What?
Why are you laughing at me? Go away. We're doing a brief CopWatch training. So basically, one thing, we're from Asada's daughter. My name's Tess.
My name's Paige.
And so I used to live in New York, and in New York, I led it was called Cop Patrol Unit, and we would base ourselves first in the South Bronx and then in Brooklyn. And basically, we would show up on corners Thursday through Sunday and patrol the cops. And then the hope would be that people from the community would join in. And that's something that we would love to happen here. One of our friends recently from Cop Patrol Unit, Ramsey Gorda, he recorded Eric Garner being killed by NYPD. He's facing 4 years of jail time now because the police continue to target him for cop watching. So there are risks, but it's part of our tradition and legacy to CopWatch, and it's part of our resistance to watch the police and part of our abolitionist politics.
So one of the main things that you're going to see if you're out cop watching is people being stopped and searched, and that might happen to you as well. And so we wanted to make sure that folks know your rights. And so the first thing is, if you are stopped by a police officer, what do you say? Does anyone know?
Nothing.
Why am I being stopped? Why am I being stopped? Right? The next question is, am I free to go or am I being detained? Okay, at this point, if they say you're being detained, do not resist, do not run away, right? If they then ask you to empty out your pockets, or if they ask to search your stuff, you can say, do you have a warrant? If they say, yes, I have a warrant, ask to see that warrant. If they do not have a warrant, do not resist the search. Instead, say and repeat over and over and over, I do not consent to a search. I do not consent to a search. That information can be used if it is being recorded. If you have someone cop watching, you can use that later on as evidence that this was an illegal search and seizure.
Yeah, just one thing with that though, unfortunately, in Chicago, police don't need a warrant to search you anymore. Like, let's say, if you're smoking in your window and they see you, they could be, well, I saw you doing something you're not supposed to be doing, I don't need a warrant. And that's true, unfortunately.
I didn't even know that.
So if they have a reason, it's cool. You don't have to show an ID. You do need to give your name, your date of birth. You need to give them an address. If you are reaching for something in your pocket, move very slowly. Name what it is you are doing and what you are going for. Make no sudden movements. Now, cop watching, one rumor that the cops love to use, one lie they love to tell, is that it is illegal to film the cops or to watch the cops. They say that you're interfering with police duties. This is not the case. You do have a right to watch the police, and you do have a right to document those things. However, there are risks, and so we're going to talk about how you can do that as safely as possible.
So one of our hopes is to have, in all of our neighborhoods that we're all coming from, we want to start a schedule, because as frequently as you show up, people in the community will start to show up. So if you see someone being arrested, the first thing is, you want to have space on your phone, which I usually don't, but getting better at it. You want to record at a wide angle, and you want to be away, a safe distance away from the cops, so that if they're trying to hit it out of their hand, you can just take a step back. While you're recording, it's important to say, I'm just here to make sure nobody gets hurt. I'm here to make sure nobody's rights are violated. And it's important to keep talking. It's also important that you're recording the officer. You don't want to do anything that would criminalize the person being arrested. So you don't want to record their face, especially because a lot of times they're minors. So you want to be recording what the officer is doing. You're watching the officer. Information, you want to make sure you're getting their badge number, the name of the officer, the precinct that they say they're taking the person to, and the location. And if you should really be doing this with two people. If you're cop watching with two people, it's a way of communicating what the rights are to the person being arrested, because you don't want to interfere and talk directly to that person. So let's say I'm cop watching, Kayla's being arrested, Tweak's the cop, so I'm recording Tweak, not Kayla, and I'll say, did you know that you don't have to consent to a search page? Did you know you don't need to show them your ID page so that they're hearing their rights without you interfering with whatever's happening, so that you're not engaging or escalating the situation. If possible, two people are recording, one across the street, so they're getting an angle of the whole situation while you're getting exactly what the officer is doing. If the person ends up being arrested, make sure you get their name and their date of birth so that you can find them and continue to CopWatch, because people die in custody and we want to make sure we're watching them even once they've been arrested.
So, as Tess mentioned, you really want to make sure you never do this alone for several reasons. One is that the person who's filming, your priority is filming. Ideally, the second person is doing the more of the engagement piece. And so, as the person who's doing that engagement, you always want to be in between the camera and the police officers. And while you're there, your job is to narrate everything that you see happening. They're taking his bag, they're asking this question, they're doing this, and you're narrating that for the camera. Again, what Tess was saying, where you're going back and forth, like, Tess, did you know that this person does not have to consent to a search? The only time you should ever speak or engage directly with the arrestee is to get their name and date of birth. What else? You might have the police officers, they might say that you're interfering and that you are in the way of police duties, in which case take one step back and repeat that you are there practicing your rights to document and watch what the police are doing, that you're there to make sure that this person's rights are not being violated, that you have every right to do what you're doing.
Yeah, and if you wanted to get young people in your community involved, one thing we used to do is hand out whistles so that it was easier in New York, because people live kind of one on top of each other, that when you would blow the whistle, young people would come out and blow the whistle on cops who are, giving random tickets or just abusing their privileges, which they do all day. And so other kids in the neighborhood would then have whistles, and then everyone would blow the whistle, so it would become like a community effort to de-arrest a person. And that's another, something like that, a call or some sort of whatever you have in your neighborhood.
In my neighborhood, we have a group that whenever there's a situation, especially if I can't stay, because this can take it can take a really long time, and you don't want to leave in the middle because you've just agitated the cops, you need to commit to seeing this through and trying to de-arrest, doing everything you can. So we have a group meet where we can say, this person's being arrested here, we need folks to show up, and then you can get a growing crowd. Or if you can't stay, you can get other people in the area. The last thing, and we know this is a lot of information really fast, so today we made some little business-sized cards that have the main highlights of all of this, and we also have tonight, so check tomorrow, we're going to have the outline of everything we're saying that you can go to at any point in time at asadasdaughters.org/CopWatch. But the last thing is, again, without ever directly addressing the person, but saying, hey, Tess, did you know that you can call 1-800-LAW-REP-4 to get free legal advice? And so that's a really important number to always have in your brain. You can make a jingle, you have it in your business card now.
If your organization wanted to have a full, because usually a CopWatch training takes a whole day, so you could role play. Monica from the People's Response Team and I do train the trainers, and you could get my email, I guess, if you wanted a whole training for your organization or for a group of young people. So just let me know. I'll be.
We want to say a couple more legal and safety considerations. So for legal, here in Chicago, we have a lot of campus security, right where I live down in Hyde Park. University of Chicago has a huge police department. Private security forces, campus security forces, they are still given police responsibilities by the government. So the First Amendment still applies. And you have every right to do CopWatch on private security if they're in a public space. And you can declare that as your right. You also have the right as a result to film them, not just watch them. Other things, so when you are CopWatching, just by the nature of that action, you are increasing your interactions with the police and increasing the risks that come with that. And so some things that might increase your risk are things like if you are on parole, probation, or have a warrant out for your arrest, because of this heightened interaction, it can be a little bit agitated. That can be something that you want to have in mind. You're more vulnerable to the prison industrial complex. Think about your immigration status. Is it something where if you get arrested, does that threaten is your immigration status a further threat? Your race, your gender presentation, gender non-conforming people, people of color, black people, right, are all more likely to be arrested. As we know, if you are CopWatching, if you have multiple IDs on you, like a fake ID, that heightens your risk of something really bad happening to you if you get arrested.
So don't carry multiple IDs.
Yes, don't carry multiple IDs. No guns, no alcohol, no unnecessary risk, right? Call your friends and have them CopWatch instead. If you're staying in a shelter and have a curfew, you might miss that depending on how long this goes or if something happens to you. The last thing is if you live in public housing or Section 8 housing, again, if think about what might happen if this escalates and you get arrested. Does that affect your ability to have shelter? Safety. That's all? That's it. So the cards, yeah.
It's like an hour presentation.